So the point of this video is to show you the difference between a Guitar Pro style and a Guitar Pro template, potential use cases for each, why they're different, and also just to set the record straight because I did find a small error in the book. So if you're following along with the physical copy of the book or on the PDF of the book, this is about midway through chapter 3, where we're talking about how to set up your document properly before you even add any notes. Chapter 3, there's a section called templates. And it's not terribly wrong, but it's not it's a misnomer. I'm talking about Guitar Pro styles, but I'm accidentally calling them templates in that instance. So I don't really use templates in my workflow. They're great if you need something that's cookie cutter, that you can open something, repeat a process. In my experience, no two tabs are the same, even if it's the same artist, even if you can classify, oh, this is like this other song that they did. So I don't overdo it in terms of creating systems, because some problems you just have to be spontaneous with it. There are certain principles that is worth learning because they do repeat across time, but at a certain point you can over-optimize to the point that it's getting in the way of you actually doing the work. So I find that to be the case with templates. So I don't really use templates. I use styles. So I'll explain the difference between the two. Styles affect how the details show up in the document. Templates affect what shows up in the document and how it shows up. So you can save a style standalone and apply that to any document, whereas a template affects the actual notes in the document. So if you start a template, it's going to be its own thing basically, but your template is going to show what details are represented, including if you've attached an audio file, if you've added sync points to that audio file, if you've put notes in the score, how many measures you've put in the score, expression details that you've put onto each note, actual text boxes and what's in those text boxes, track information, track timing, chord information, fingerings, song information, specifics such as the actual title listed or the actual copyright information for that file, things like that. And it's also going to nest your style sheet information into the template as well. Whereas style sheets are just, think of it like a font in a Word document, but more macro. Templates preserve the style information unless your preferences dictate that you force a style sheet onto each new document, which is preferences, force style sheet, checked or unchecked. If it's unchecked, I recommend leaving things unchecked with that. I'll show how all that looks on a finished tab, and I will save that tab as a template and also save the details of that tab into a style so that you can see what's preserved across each different one. Here's a transcription I did a few years ago. This is Billie Eilish, Everything I Wanted. Just had the idea to do this on the Silver Sky capo, I think capo 4, drop D, capo 6. It just felt nice, and it's a fun little tongue twister sort of, but for your fingers. But for all intents and purposes, this is basically a finished tab. There's some more I could do to it to make it look nicer, but it's good enough for this use case. So you can see I've already attached my audio file. This was just, I purchased the song on iTunes and then I dragged and dropped it into Guitar Pro and I added my sync points to make it match up. So you'll hear some points where the tempo is not exact, but it matches the audio file. I notice it too, don't worry. But yeah, it's otherwise a finished tab. So I'll play through it a little bit. This isn't my usual template or my usual style that I work with. So what I can do if I want to save this as a style is go to File, Style Sheet, Options, Save Style. And then let's just call this Billie Eilish Test. Okay, so I've saved it as a style now. What I'll do from here is also save it as a template. So File, Save as Template, just Billie Eilish test. And it's also a different file extension. So your Guitar Pro styles are going to be a .gps, your Guitar Pro templates are going to be a .gpt. So now this is our original document. We'll leave it right there. We can go over here, start a new file. Basic acoustic guitar steel, nothing crazy, and just adding measures. And now if I go over here and just type some gibberish into the song information, it doesn't match the tab that we just did. It's a different font, doesn't look as fancy. I haven't curated the typeface on this. So what I can do now is go in to File, Style Sheet, Options, Load Style. And I've got Billie Eilish test right over here that we just saved. Press Open, Apply. And now my gibberish is the same font as the original document. So that's what happens when you load a style. It didn't add any of the original notes. It didn't add the audio file or any of the sync points associated with it. None of the characters, none of the text boxes, none of the section names or codas or score directions or anything like that. None of that is preserved. Just the typefacing, just the overall format, just how the notes show up, and some details like the line spacing on the measures. Those are the same. So that's a style. To load a template, you go from File, New from Template. And so you've got your preloaded ones that come with Guitar Pro, and then we've got Billie Eilish Test. That's the one we just saved. So quite obviously the template is a very, very different thing. It saves not just your typefacing, not just your style sheet information, but also the notes that were in that file that you saved as a template. So it's the content and the formatting. So just to set the record straight, because I kind of conflate the two in the book. Not that most people would care or catch it or need that, but it bugged me that I didn't clear that up. So I find styles to be most useful when I am working with multiple different projects for multiple different artists. So I have a different style for each different client that I work with, also based off of how they intend to publish the material. I kind of try to base it off of, again, not just how they intend to publish it, but what does their branding look like across their websites and their albums and posters and various other things that they've published. Because we insert a lot of personality into the fonts that we choose with our design. So some people are very intentional about that, and I want to honor that where that's the case. I know I'm intentional about that, so if I was hiring out, I would appreciate it personally. But nonetheless, that's the difference between a template and a style and potential use cases for them. So